New footage released online allegedly shows an American F-35 being hit by what may be an Iranian surface-to-air missile. The footage has not been verified, and to be totally honest, I probably wouldn't even be showing it to you if it didn't coincide with confirmed reports of a US Air Force F-35A being forced to make an emergency landing somewhere in the Middle East. Now, these two details combined seem to suggest that an F-35 may indeed have been hit while flying combat operations over Iran, something that I want to emphasize is entirely possible based on what we know about the F-35 and Iranian air defense capabilities. But more than that, it also seems to show that the F-35 is a lot tougher than many might have previously realized, seemingly tanking that hit and remaining airborne and operational, finding its way all the way back to a friendly airbase in the region. So let's run through what we know, what we see in this unconfirmed footage, and what all of this might mean. I'm Alex Hollings, and this is a breaking edition of Air Power. Okay, there is no ad to read to you guys today because I've got something way cooler to share with you. I am really proud to announce that we just launched the official Sandboxx News app for iOS, and it will be coming soon for Android users as well. Now, I'll post a separate video diving into everything you can expect from this app, but for now, you should know that you can already find not just all of my long and short form videos there and my written analysis, but you'll also find the incredible work of the rest of our Sandboxx News team, like legendary Delta Force operator George Hand, award-winning defense journalist and former editor of Military.com, Hope Sec, former Navy SEAL turned CIA officer Frumentarius, who writes under a pen name for his own security, infantry Marine Travis Pike, and a long list of other writers hailing from every corner of the special operations, aviation, and intelligence communities from American and allied nations. This app is totally free to download and totally free to use. We just wanted to be able to consolidate all of our written and video work in one place so people don't have to jump around platforms to find it all. I am really excited about this, and I can't wait to hear what you guys think. So make sure to download it and then come back here and give me any feedback you've got in the comments. All right, now back to the F-35. A US Air Force F-35A was forced to make an emergency landing sometime in the past few days after reportedly being hit by Iranian fire. Thus far, we have only been able to confirm that the aircraft did come in for an emergency landing at an undisclosed airbase in the Middle East and that the pilot is allegedly fine. But we still have not been able to confirm whether or not this footage of the F-35 being hit by an Iranian missile, allegedly released by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, is real. But if it is, it offers two different but equally important lessons. The first is that the F-35's stealth is not a cloak of invisibility or invincibility, and even these aircraft are susceptible to being hit by surface-to-air missiles if they're close enough to a targeting array or in several other circumstances. And the second is that the F-35 seems to be a lot tougher than most seem to give it credit for, as the jet apparently seemed to have tanked a direct hit in stride and still managed to fly all the way back to a friendly airbase to come in for a safe landing. Now, Captain Tim Hawkins, a spokesperson for U.S. Central Command, confirmed the F-35 was flying a, quote, combat mission over Iran before being forced to make an emergency landing when he was asked by the war zone. He went on to say, and I quote, "The aircraft landed safely and the pilot is in stable condition. This incident is under investigation." Now, I want to be clear that thus far CENTCOM has not confirmed that the F-35 making an emergency landing was actually hit by Iranian fire, but some news outlets, including CNN, claim that unnamed sources have corroborated the story. And to be clear, it is entirely possible that an F-35 could indeed be hit by Iranian fire. While American and Israeli forces have established localized air superiority over parts of Iran, primarily in the southwest and northwest respectively, Iran still has lots of territory left to stash a wide variety of air defense capabilities in. This is part of Iran's overarching strategy of outlasting American political will while exacting higher and higher costs on American forces and the world's economy at large by blocking the Strait of Hormuz and obviously continuing to strike at American and other regional targets. Iran is well aware that it can't defeat the US and Israel in a direct fight, but it's also well aware that the American people are risk-averse and sensitive to losses. Simply put, Iran aims to make the American offensive so unpopular as a result of rising energy costs and American losses that the United States is forced to withdraw, not because of Iranian battlefield victories, but because of an American population that just doesn't want to be stuck in a long, drawn-out, and costly Middle Eastern war. And as these air operations continue, American aircraft will press further and further into those areas of uncontrolled airspace to hunt for air defense assets, ballistic missile launchers, and more. This is very dangerous work that is ripe with risk even for stealth aircraft like the F-35. Now, I'm sure that there will be plenty of folks, and maybe even some bots in the comments, claiming that an F-35 being hit by any Iranian fire shows that its stealth technologies are not as effective as Lockheed Martin and many national governments claim. But there's actually no real way to know that based on what we've seen so far. In fact, it seems unlikely to me that the F-35 was targeted by a radar-guided weapon at all if this footage proves to be real, but we'll talk more about that in a bit. But even if the F-35 was indeed hit by a radar-guided interceptor launched from a surface-to-air missile system like Iran's Russian-sourced S-300s, well, that still wouldn't mean the fighter's stealth was compromised or ineffective. Some of you have heard me preach this for years now, but it bears repeating again. Stealth aircraft are not invisible to radar. They just take great pains to prevent and delay detection, and then especially targeting. An easy way to think of how stealth works is to think of these aircraft as dartboards on the other side of the room that you want to hit with a dart. A non-stealth jet, like the F-15 Eagle, could be thought of as a standard-sized dartboard, making it relatively easy for most folks to at least hit with a dart from across the room. In this analogy, a stealth aircraft like the F-35 would be a much smaller dartboard. Technically speaking, it would be more than 16,000 times smaller. But for the sake of our example, let's say it's a dartboard that's only about 1 inch across. Now, some people might not even see a 1-inch dartboard on the wall from the other side of the room, but even those who do spot it would still really struggle to actually hit it with a dart from that distance. But if someone were to take that tiny dartboard off the wall and bring it much closer until it was just sitting on the table right in front of the dart thrower, well, then they'd have a much better chance at hitting it. Stealth works the same way. The F-35 may be exceedingly tough to spot and even harder to target, but if it's close enough to a targeting array, it can absolutely still get hit. This is why good intelligence collection about the placement and the type of air defense assets is a really important element of effective stealth mission planning. So I wouldn't be shocked to hear that an F-35 has been hit in combat. After all, the United States has flown literally thousands of sorties into Iran over the span of just the past few weeks, with F-35s effectively flying into the fight, striking targets, flying back to a friendly airbase, being rearmed and refueled, and then heading right back into the fight again. And of course, because of the stealth and the survivability of these jets, they are given the highest risk mission sets with the highest likelihood of potentially being engaged by enemy air defenses. Or, in other words, if F-35s are flying the most dangerous missions, it should not shock us when that danger actually manifests. Now, what does surprise me, however, is how the F-35 apparently, if this footage is real, just straight up tanked a direct hit from some sort of guided missile and was able to just keep on flying all the way back to a friendly airbase. Now, the interceptors launched by Iran's long-range air defenses, like their Russian-sourced S-300s or their domestically built Bavar 373s, carry blast fragmentation warheads that range from 330 to 440 pounds. That's roughly the equivalent of being hit by anywhere from 16 to 22 Sidewinder missiles at once. So if one of them managed to hit an F-35, even if just with the blast reaching the F-35 via a proximity fuse, well, there's a really solid chance that it would erase a good chunk of that fighter from our plane of existence, not see it continue on its merry way, more or less unbothered. And of course, it's important to note that the F-35 in this footage, again, if it's real, does not seem to take any evasive action, nor does it employ any missile countermeasures. And if it's real, that could shine at least some light on how the aircraft may have been targeted and why it managed to survive. If this footage is real, the footage suggests to me that we're looking at a relatively small, short-ranged infrared or electro-optically guided weapon, like those employed by Iran's Majid air defense system. This is a truck-mounted short-range air defense asset that uses electro-optical sensors, rather than radar, to identify and track targets. It's capable of engaging aircraft at reported ranges of about 8 kilometers, or about 5 miles, and can reach targets flying as high as around 20,000 feet with its AD-08 interceptors. Once launched, the AD-08 uses an infrared sensor to close with that target's heat signature, delivering a roughly 30-pound blast fragmentation warhead at speeds that are better than Mach 2. Now that places its explosive power just about smack in between America's smaller Sidewinder and larger AMRAAM air-to-air missiles. Or if the F-35 was flying low enough at the time, below 13,000 feet or so, it's also possible that it could have been hit by a man-portable air defense system, or MANPAD, like Iran's Missileh 3, which can reach targets out to 5 kilometers or a bit more than 3 miles. These weapons use a combination of a laser designator and a weapon-board infrared seeker for guidance, with the goal of making them more effective against countermeasures like flares, but they also carry much smaller warheads at just 3.3 pounds. So while this does seem less likely to me, it could explain why the F-35 was able to absorb the blast. Now, both of these weapons and other similar systems all rely on line of sight rather than radar targeting, dramatically curtailing their effective range, but also making them very tricky to counter if they pop up right beneath you from an underground bunker. Because they use passive sensors for targeting, there are no emissions to detect, so the pilot wouldn't know a missile was coming until the fighter's distributed aperture system detected the infrared spike of a launch, maybe a second or less before impact. So, if this footage proves to be real, and I'm going to keep emphasizing that we don't know that it is, well, then we will have officially seen the first time an F-35 has ever been hit in combat. But we've also officially seen the first time an F-35 ever managed to make it home after absorbing a direct hit, seemingly proving that this fancy stealth jet packed full of advanced technology is a lot tougher than most of us would have thought. Thus far, in Operation Epic Fury, the United States has lost 4 crewed combat aircraft to friendly fire and mishaps, but none to enemy fire. However, the risk presented by Iranian air defenses is likely to remain for some time to come, again, if only because of the vast expanse of territory the nation has to hide them in. And to date, it's been reported that these air defense systems have downed at least 10, but maybe even 11 MQ-9 Reapers, or remotely piloted ISR and strike drones. Now, this is obviously a developing story, and I'll be sure to keep you updated, but with that, ends this breaking edition of Air Power from Sandboxx News. I'm Alex Hollings. Make sure to download the free Sandboxx News app that's available right now for iOS to stay on top of all of our videos and up-to-date written analysis from our team of veterans and professional journalists. If you got anything out of this video, make sure to click like and subscribe down below and leave me a comment so I know what I should cover next. And of course, don't forget to tap on that bell icon so you never miss a drop from Sandboxx News.